Okay, Shabbat Shalom. It was put on my heart to do this message, and this message may be offensive to some or many, but I don't care. It's not about offending or not offending. It's about just telling the truth. And so, number one, this is the first week, the first Shabbat that I'm keeping intentionally at home, not going to a congregation or a place like a building where there's a designated meeting place to go to. Normally, I would do that, even if we'll just try to do that. Even if you know, if my life depended on it, I'd still go. I would still be on my heart to go. But in light of what is happening, I'll explain why I am not, and why it's most likely. I think it's better to not do that at this time. So, number one, the first point I want to make very clear is that my motivation to do this is out of love. It's out of love. It's out of love for my fellow brothers and sisters, my friends, my spiritual family. Because if I have the virus and I really don't know, I'm protecting you from it by not being there. So just remember that. That's the first motivation for me to do that. Definitely a top motivation, not the very first one. But definitely another reason, which I would say is maybe even higher than that one, is that I take the words of Yahushua, of our Father, and the words that He gave to His Son very seriously. And I'm sure you do too, but the way I understand it is Luke 22, verse 11, Yahushua was telling the truth. And what we are seeing around us today, in this year, 5855, 5856, is that His words are coming to pass at an alarming rate, not simply the ongoing events of the past, like World War I, World War II, the Spanish flu, various great earthquakes, and the past famines we've had, the Great Depression. Not just that, this is a culmination. It's being fully fulfilled. That's what I believe, and that's why I take it so seriously, His words, that they aren't simply, not for our time, and no, they can't apply to today. No, that's not in my generation. It won't happen in my days, but it's happening in our days. That's the way I see it. So, I take it very seriously, what He said. So, since my perspective is such, I will, make preparations, the physical preparations, but more than that, the spiritual preparation is more important to do. But we must do both. So that's the motivation behind me doing that. I fear Elohim, and I know that if I go out there, there's a risk you would die from it. And personally, just my own personal conviction is, I don't know what Yah's will is for me and how I am meant to die, because He knows me even before I was born, and He knows me. He knows what kind of person I will be, and the method of my death. He knows the cause of my death. He knows all of that in advance. But deep in my heart, like, my personal conviction is that I won't die from this plague. I really don't feel that deep inside of me. From what, well, at least, it's not that I want to not die from it. If I die from it, I die from it, right? But the point is, I really don't feel that that's what Yah's purpose is for me, to die that way. If I were to be completely honest with you, and I will be right now, I really feel that Yah is meant for me to die in such a way that I'm defending the faith. So if I were put in front of a jury or some kind of thing that is accusing believers in Yeshua and saying, denounce His name or else we'll kill you by means of whatever means, I will stand up and say, go ahead, kill me. And then they will. That's how I envision my death, being something like that, but not by this virus. I just don't see it that way. But if it happens, it happens, right? I can't stop Yah's will. But again, that's another reason why I've decided to bug in. It's one reason I've decided to do that, because I really don't feel that's the way I was meant to go out. And why put myself at risk? I can believe it with all my heart, but if I don't take the measures to ensure that, then I'm just, I'm saying one thing, I'm doing another. So I'm not going to do that. Yeah. So secondly, besides taking the word of Yah seriously and the words of Yahushua, which were given by his father, is out of love. It's motivated by love, because in case I have it, I don't want to spread it. And I do foresee something happening, not in just the congregation I go to or went to, but other congregations, and not just Christian ones or Jewish ones or Messianic ones or what have you, all congregations, even Muslim ones and Buddhist ones and Hindu ones. There's going to be a lot of finger pointing, because you're going to find, and it's going to be in the news, it's already in the news, where one lady infected her whole congregation in South Korea. So you're going to have many other stories, similar stories of people uh, being infected over the coming months, and they will start to investigate as to who was the origin of this virus. Did you bring it? No, it was you. It was your son. They went to China. No, he didn't go to China. And then it says, no, you went to Iran. Oh, you have links to Iran. Oh, your family, your uncle. And then he visited you, and then he infected you. And then there's going to be finger pointing, and the casualties that are going to occur. People will be angry and bitter towards each other in the faith, in all faiths. It's going to be a lot of finger pointing. I don't want to be part of that. I don't want to. I can see that being a very bad situation happening, developing, or to develop. I don't want to have any part in that, in this finger pointing and blaming of people because they got infected and then this family member died. And now there's this, railing accusations, unless they forgive each other. And hopefully they do forgive each other. But the point is, it's too risky whether someone accuses you or points their finger at you to get infected, and then 40 days later, it turns out you've infected other people, but the whole time of that 40-day period, you didn't even show a symptom. You're just going along your life normally, just like me right now. It seems like everything's normal, but who knows? 40 days later, I could have it, or you could have it. So I think it's a big risk. You put yourself in a conundrum. You put everyone else at risk too. If you really don't know and you haven't tested yourself, you don't know. And it's not to, I'm not trying to stir up fear. I'm trying to stir up love. I'm stirring up love in the way that, that you're putting others before yourself. So the only way I can think of doing that is by not putting people in danger. I know I live in a community where a large percent of the population are Chinese, they are Persian, they are Italian, they come from many other countries too. But at this point, no one, I mean, who is keeping track, honestly, of all the countries? If I were to ask any random person on the street, hey, tell me all the countries affected by this, and who are the leading 10 countries on the list? They couldn't tell you because, to be honest, we've lost count. The normal average person will not be able to tell you off the top of their head every single country being affected and all the numbers, because at the rate that it's going, it's doubling every 2.4 days. So what I'm trying to say is it's out of control. And a lot of people are not taking this seriously, even those in the faith, even those who are believers. And that's bad. That's a bad thing, because it shows that, at least to me, they're not taking the word of Yah seriously. There have been many warnings. Yahushua himself said in Luke 22:11 what those things are. And he said, "Woe to you who give birth in those days and are raising children in those days, because it's only going to be as difficult as it is just doing that on a normal circumstances. It's going to be a lot harder to do that in times of calamity and times like these that are so unpredictable, where there's a impending famine looming over the planet." So that's what I'm saying. I think there is wisdom in those who choose to refrain from meeting in public, from those choosing, such as myself, to refrain from congregating in large assemblies or with an assembly of multiple people who you do not follow the rest of the week. You do not see where they go. You do not know if they're using public transportation, what places they're visiting, what people they're coming in contact with. So, I mean, that's a risk you will take, and that has to be, if you're going out on faith, this is what I want to bring forward is, we believe in faith, that we should have faith that Yah will protect us. But for example, it would be foolish, I think it would be foolish if Yah had warned us in advance. He said, Satan is like a lion, seeking whom he may devour, and he's outside your door. Let's just say that lion is outside your door. And you decide, you tell yourself, okay, well, I'm going to go out in faith and, go out there and see if I will be able to make it to my car without the lion eating me. But that's foolish if you don't go out there wearing like some kind of protection, or going out there without some kind of weapon to defend yourself. That would be utterly foolish, because Yah has already warned you. So likewise, I'm saying Yehoshua has warned us already that these things are happening, that they were to come in his day, but they're happening now. So what kind of things should we do? What kind of people should we be? We should be people who are circumspect. You watch, you pay attention to the news, you filter out the lies, and the Spirit of Yah will lead you to the truth. And then you must decide what is the wisest course of action to take. That's what it is. This too shall pass. This virus and all these calamities will pass. We know the ending is a happy ending, but in the time being, once this blows over, my goal or my mission or my objective is to return back to fellowshipping again, to congregating again. But in this time of trouble, even Isaiah says, stay in your homes, shut your doors until the wrath of Elohim is past, because it's afflicting the whole earth. I mean, that verse may not apply to the situation, but the wisdom of that verse says, do not partake in it. You're in this world, but you're not of this world. You don't live by the creeds and systems of the doctrines of the Gentiles. We live by the Torah and what Yah instructed us, what Yehoshua taught us, the example he left for us, the example he showed us that we need to follow, he being our shepherd and we being his sheep. And I'm out there, or was out there, the weeks leading up to this, the days leading up to this self-imposed quarantine, and I'm the only one wearing a mask. I seem to be the only one taking this seriously. And what came up in my head, the thought that popped up in my head was this: I'm not going to be concerned with what people think of me, or that, whatever they think of me, because I know who I belong to. I know Yehoshua is my shepherd, and my shepherd leads me in a safe path. He shows me the way to go and what to do. The rest of the world, those not wearing masks or not preparing or not understanding the spiritual implications of what is happening around us. Because yeah, you have preppers; they're always they're always ready. But those who don't understand that this ties into what Yehoshua said, their shepherd isn't Yehoshua. They don't understand. They may understand what is happening. They may understand that it's a bioweapon, sure, but they don't understand why it's happening. They don't understand the why. They don't understand what's coming after that. They only prepare and they react. But we must be uh, proactive based on the information that already had given to us. And the the Book of Revelation is a prime example of that. I would like to do a series on Revelation one day before all these things happen, but let's just look at the very first verse. Kind of sums up what was given. And this video will be Chinese, it will be Greek, it will be a bunch of gibberish to anyone else who doesn't have the Spirit. But it says here, the revelation of Yehoshua HaMashiach, which Elohim gave to him. So this is a revealing of a mystery that Elohim, the Father, gave to Yehoshua to make known. So this is how the message is disseminated. The Father, Elohim, the Father, gave this revelation to his Son, who was anointed, Yehoshua, who then gave it to his servants. Who are the servants? The ecclesia, those who follow the way, concerning what must, not may, it must happen, must shortly take place. And this was written almost 2,000 years ago. If it was shortly then it's pretty much now, or a lot of these things have happened. I understand that, but there's still things that have yet to be fulfilled, that have yet to take place, and which he sent and revealed by his angel to his servant Yochanan, who testified to the message of Elohim and to the testimony of Yehoshua HaMashiach, omitting nothing of what he had seen. Blessed is he or she who reads, and blessed are they who listen to the words of this prophecy, and lay to heart what is here written. For the time is far. No, it says near. The time is near. That was 2,000 years ago. So a lot of these things, I won't read it now, but essentially you can look in history and see how a lot of these events have happened. They've taken place. And some of it is actually talking about things that have happened already. But I mean, in terms of the four horsemen, for example, that is tied into Luke 22, I believe, as well. Maybe I'll just go over the four horsemen really quick. Here it is, Revelation 6. It was the first horse, the white horse, was given a crown. He went out conquering and to conquer. A lot of people understand this as a counterfeit religion. I'll leave it at that. I won't go into the depths of that. But just know that it's not exactly a religion of shalom. It's the opposite of it, even though they claim to be. When the Lamb broke the second seal, I heard the second creature crying, "Come." So the red horse is given the power to deprive the earth of peace so that men should kill one another. He was given a great sword. I speculate, this is my speculation, please don't take it as the gospel, but I'm speculating that this red horse is communism. I mean, red is the color of communism. So, and communism has killed millions of lives. So it could be that, or it could just be general warfare. and division, just people having divisions between themselves. And then third one is the black horse, which is famine, which is what the world is going to experience as a result of not just the plague, but the locust plague. And that's going to be very, very, as much as I'm predicting and as much as I'm able to uh, have the insight and the foresight or just the logic, it's really common sense to deduce that as a result of the coronavirus, there's going to be at least 100 million to as many as a billion dead. That's a seventh of the population at worst. Um, we're going to see a significant decrease in our population, total population. But that's just from the coronavirus. From the famine, we could see a larger percentage. I'm going to guess minimum a billion. So worst case scenario for both, that's almost half the population of the world. We're going to go from 7 billion to 3.5 or even less than that. What history is going to show is that this locust plague is going to be more destructive to human life than this coronavirus will be. Because you need food to live. And if you have no food, you starve. That's logic. It's common sense. So I'm not really a prophet. I'm just a guy, normal dude. Maybe not normal, but I'm just a person, a man who breathes air and can think. And Yah has given me maybe some wisdom here and there. When you keep His Torah, that's like a blessing that He gives you added understanding. So anyway, it doesn't seem far fetched to me that you'll have at least 1 billion dying from just the famine that is already happening, up to maybe 2 billion. Could be even more than that, but let's just say 2 billion. That's already from 7 billion to 5 billion, but that's without taking into factor the plague, which is another, like half a billion. So we're going to see our population drop to maybe 3 to 4 billion. And, those globalists will get what they want because, they want to lower the population. Anyhow, very Thanos like. So then the last horseman is death. Death. So, death, the power of death is to destroy with sword. So, his power is given over the fourth part of the earth, that they might destroy with sword and famine and death. So, war, famine, and I guess death could be plague, could be pestilence, by means of the wild beasts of the earth. And I interpreted that to mean not that the lions and bears and snakes and crocodiles are just going to break out of their zoos and start eating people and mangling people. No, that's not what it means, according to how I understand it. I understand this to mean the viruses that come from the beasts. Look at the three diseases, the big pestilences going around right now. Where do they come from? The coronavirus is linked to bats, but not that it was linked as in bat soup. It was linked because the way they weaponized this coronavirus is they inserted the bat genome, which notably the coronavirus is dormant. It can remain dormant in a vat for a long time, 30 days or maybe completely. But that was taken, that ability of the virus to be dormant was from bats. That's the way they took it. That's the way they extracted it. The second one going on is the H5N1, which is the swine flu, I believe. And the swine flu obviously comes from pigs, so that's another beast. Third one is in another animal. It may not be a beast, but it's a chicken, and that's the avian flu. So, however these viruses came about, or they were created in a lab or what have you, they are spread through animals, and they infect other animals. And what they're doing in China and other places is that those infected livestock are being genocided. They're being mass killed, either buried in mass graves or destroyed in different other ways, which I won't name. So that's going to lead to, you guessed it, a famine. You either have a famine because of the locusts, or you have a famine because of the diseases, or you have a famine because of panic buying. But all three put together will lead to a severe global famine. Personally, I don't think it'll be like the famine in Egypt in the time of Joseph, where the whole planet, all the nations went and converged to Egypt to get food to survive. I could be wrong, but the way I see it right now, just my common sense or my insight perspective, is that we're going to see a massive famine in Africa, in the Middle East, possibly in Europe, or very likely in Europe, and also in Asia. So those four continents, the only ones remaining, because the locusts cannot travel over oceans, they will die. They can't sustain that journey, as far as I know. The only countries that'll have crops, Australia is a lost cause. All their crops have been burnt from the fires. A lot of it has been destroyed, significant amount. So the only continents remaining that has a viable food source, that will have a viable food source, is North America and South America, provided Yah provides a rain and provides optimal conditions for growing crops. If Yah provides, if Elohim provides that those conditions where North America and South America can continue to grow crops and sustain themselves, what you will see is a very, very high demand from the rest of the world on North America and South America. You're going to have all of the Asian nations, all of the European nations, all the Middle Eastern nations, and all of the African nations, and all of the Australian continent relying and depending on America, Canada, Mexico, and all of South America to provide food and so that they won't die out from famine. So that's how I picture this happening. See, as much as the media and the news focus on the virus, and they're right to pay attention to it, this famine is going to be a lot worse because it's going to starve people to death. Slowly, they're going to slowly die instead of just dropping dead at random times at random places. So again, I do this out of love. I do this quarantine out of love for my brothers and my sisters in the faith. It's difficult. It's not easy to not have that face-to-face fellowship. I mean, it's still possible. You can do it through Skype and technological means, so that's good. I mean, I'm very thankful and grateful for that. I fellowshipped yesterday. It was great. It was really uplifting to my heart. Elohim created us not to be isolated. He didn't create us to not depend on each other and need each other. This way, this walk is dependent on us understanding and living in such a way that we help each other, we support each other, and we communicate with each other, that we understand that we are, as the Apostle Paul said, we are a body. The eye cannot tell the foot that I don't need you. Here's a prime example. Ready? Ready or not? Here's an example. You're driving, right? And your eyes see that there's a truck losing control on the highway, and it starts to fishtail, it spins around, and Your eyes tell your foot, push the brakes. What if the foot says, no, I don't need you, eye. You don't know what you're doing. You know what you're saying. Forget you, eye. What happens? You crash, you die. The whole body is destroyed. But if the foot says to the eye, okay, I got it. You got it, eye. Okay, I'm going to push the brakes. So you push the brakes, and then the brain, that's another part of the body, but it's a control center, really, telling the hands, okay, steer this way, do that, put on your blinkers, all these things. Like the body, we are the body. I could be maybe a thumb. I could be maybe a little toe. I could be the lobe of the ear. But the more that you fellowship, the more you understand that I didn't understand what this person knows. And I have not been living correctly the way this person has. Or they will, uh, or be the other way around. They'll talk to you and say, oh, I didn't know that. I didn't realize that. So now I should make preparations for a coming famine, or what have you. So that's what I have to say. Again, I don't care if this offends people. That's not the point. The point is uh, to tell you the motivations behind myself in post quarantine, to tell you a scriptural perspective, and to encourage you as well. So thank you. Shabbat Shalom and Shalom for the regular week.